Today we started off with a costume parade where we got all of the actors into their costumes and saw how they looked on them. And from doing this, we got a few notes and saw what was wrong with some of the costumes and what needed fixing. So for me, three of the main things that I had to do from that was to fix the rats I made previously that sit on the actors' ankles, as none of them fit the actors' ankles, as their ankles were a lot smaller than I was anticipating. As I made the mistake of trying it on my ankles where I had shoes on, which were larger, I think, than usual shoes, and also I didn't realize, as they're all wearing jazz shoes and leggings or tights, they don't have any of that extra bulk that I had. And as well as this, I didn't realize that there is such a great variation in people's ankle sizes. As after this, I decided to measure every one of the people in the rats cast ankles, as when I was looking at them, some of them it fit relatively well, and some of them they were just about to fall off. So when I measured them, it turned out to be about 4 or 5 inches in variation between people's ankle sizes, which I didn't realize was such a big thing. I think about ankles as being fairly the same size, but they're not at all. So I had to change that quite a lot. And then there was also Shrek's trousers, which needed to be taken up, as that hadn't been done before, as well as I needed to fix the hem on the wolf's dress, as I'd forgotten to cut off the excess that was just hanging down. So I started off with the wolf, as that was the quickest job. I just cut the excess of the hem so it was fixed. And then I moved on to Shrek's trousers, as this was the next quickest job. And I sewed around the bottom and hemmed it to the right length on both of the Shrek's pairs of trousers. And after I'd done that, I moved on to fixing the rats. So as I mentioned just now, I measured all of the cast ankles, and then I cut out pieces of elastic according to these measurements, and I grouped them. As ideally, I could use just a one size fits all kind of elastic, but because the difference between some of their ankle sizes was so great, I had to do fitted ones. So I'm going to label the rats as to which cast member they belong to, as otherwise it'll just fall straight off some people's feet and fit perfectly on others. So I want to make sure that that isn't a problem anymore. So I cut out all of those pieces of elastic, and then I cut out a second piece of elastic to attach to a second point on the foot. Then I cut around the rats' heads in a circle and glued the sides down, and then attached the elastic to that. So one to wrap around the ankle, and then two to sit on the feet to try and attach the rat as best as possible. Now, the reason that I had to cut the rat's head out in a circle and then attach it, rather than just shortening than what I had before and reattaching the Velcro, was because I was very limited for time, as we only had 40 minutes until the dress rehearsal, or maybe an hour until the dress rehearsal, but in that time I also had to complete the wolf dress and Shrek's trousers, and I didn't actually end up finishing enough rats to be a part of the dress run, but I will be finishing them before the next dress run on Monday. So after that, we did then start going into the dress run. So I started off by going through Emily, who's the head of costume, going through her script and finding the places where the quick changes happen and making a note of them in my own script, which I could keep in the wings with me, where I'd be waiting ready to do one of the quick changes. As one of the quick changes we have to do is with Fiona, where we give her her gloves and her ears, showing her the first time as she transforms into an ogre. And it's quite important to have a script with me then, marking out when it is, because it's so quick that we have to meet her right off stage and put it on her. So it's good to know exactly when to go on. So I marked out when to stand by, when to get the costume ready, and then when to actually go and stand and wait for her. As you don't want to go too early, as I don't want to get in the way of people coming on and off or crew doing set changes. We then had a second quick change with the Mad Hatter, and this is only a change that happens with cast 1, as they are double cast with different roles. but Mama Ogre has to change into the Mad Hatter. We have about 2 minutes, I think, and the change happened quite late. They didn't really have enough time to get everything done. The actor wasn't very happy with how it was. She felt like her hair was very messy. She didn't have time to sort it out. So we decided then that we needed to work on organising this change a bit more and getting the two people who were helping and giving specific jobs. Having somebody ready with the jacket to put it just straight on, the same with the waistcoat. Having one person on putting the shoes on, and one person on the hat and the bow to speed it up and make it a more effective change so she doesn't have to rush quite as much. And then the last quick change that we were part of was Fiona's second change, but this time it's a bigger change into an ogre as she actually gets painted green and she has the proper prosthetic ogre gloves rather than fabric ones. And this change we have less time for, but is will take longer as she has to also get painted green. But we didn't have makeup with us there on the day, so it was just taking her dress off, putting a green piece of fabric and attaching that there and zipping her dress back up again, putting her ears on and putting her gloves. However, we did have quite a lot of trouble with this as the actor was quite panicked as she felt she didn't have a lot of time, so she was moving around a lot, which made it difficult to complete the change effectively as she was so stressed about it. So I think maybe just going through what needs to happen with her beforehand might help keep her still as she knows what's going to happen. So she'll find it an easier change to complete, as well as having the makeup team there will also probably make that easier in future. Something else that happened during the run was the wolf's sleeve ripped quite badly, and so um, he only went on at the start and the end in that dress. So he took it off so I could complete some repairs. But it was very big, so I wasn't able to repair it completely before the end of the show. And I didn't think it was really worth trying as it was so big. So I put some stitches around the outside to hold the threads in place so it wouldn't become any worse. It wasn't better than it was before, but it wouldn't get any worse, which I was quite worried about. So I could fix it later, probably with a machine and another layer of fabric underneath just to make it a bit stronger. Um, what I need to do better, I think, and what could have been improved on today was having a more detailed version of all the changes happening in my script, as I found that I was missing some. I had copied some from Emily's script, but I think I need to go over them and redo them and make sure they're all in the right place and that we have the same things on both of our scripts. So I'll aim to do that on Monday, ask her to borrow it and copy that into my script. And what went well today, though, was for a first run, I think the changes went very well. Although we do need to practice them a bit, I think, and it will get quicker as we go along. Nobody was very late to their cues, and we did manage to actually get them on the stage around the time that they needed to be. So I think we worked quite effectively as a team for the first try. There is still a lot of room for improvement, but we're on the right track.